I think the moment everything changed for me was when I decided to become my own role model. And the idea of that is kind of a strange one, but I think that when you realize that physical age doesn't equal maturity or emotional growth, I think that's the moment where you kind of grow the power or the self presence to decide how you want to be. And there's nothing wrong with having role models. Um, but I think at the end of the day, people don't actually realize that just because someone's 40 or 50 years old, it doesn't actually mean that they're mentally mature or capable of giving good advice. I think we've all seen it where we come across someone who's, like physically mature, like they're an older person, but they still act like a complete child, and they are very emotional, and they have their triggers, and they take their stress out on the people around them. And that's all because they've never taken the time to reflect or be with their thoughts or assess who they are as a person. And I think that once you actually take the time to sit down and think about who you actually want to be and reflect on the things you've been through, and that perhaps you're not the person you wish to be. And I think this kind of happened at a young age for me. Not realizing I wanted to be my own role model, but the whole introspection of developing into someone that you want to be. Because I remember when I was, it would have been maybe 12 or 13, and I remember I was on the school bus going home, and we passed all the neighboring like school buses from the other schools. And I remember yeah, like all the kids, they used to just like flip each other off and do all this kind of stuff. And I remember seeing one of my good friends from primary school on this other bus, and I just trying to fit in. Like when I saw him, I was like, yeah, like fuck you. And he's just like looked at me and he's like waved, and I felt so shit about it. I felt so guilty because I just kind of, I don't know, just gave into this weird sheep mentality of just doing what everyone else did, and he was just responded with the most genuine, like, friendly, kind gesture. And after that, I kind of just started to think that maybe I shouldn't act like everyone else. And it took a good 10 years later before I actually started implementing practices to kind of undo all this kind of stuff. But the thing is that I think that the best thing to do when trying to figure out who to become or who you'd like to become is, like when we're speaking about these older people who have their triggers and everything, I think the best thing to do is to always kind of just look back to the first event that kind of happened in your life that changed everything. Because there are a lot of people who feel depressed and they don't feel happy very often, and they don't know when they last felt happy. And often this happens because something happened in their childhood or their adolescent years which kind of made a big shift in their life. And I think it's important to just kind of sit down and identify what went wrong, so to speak, because we all go through some terrible stuff, and to kind of work from there. And because it could be anything, you could have been like abused as a kid, or just, without going into detail, so many things could have happened to you as a child. And there's always kind of just that one domino that would have happened to you that affected you to start acting in a completely different way, that would then create like this domino effect of decisions that were made out of fear rather than confidence, or out of like intuition and the way you would normally act. So it's always good to kind of identify what the first really negative impacts you had when you were younger that kind of changed the trajectory of who you were going to become. And life and going on your like spiritual journey and your own inner journey is kind of a story of unlearning these triggers and these traumas and these PTSD kind of things that have happened to you, so you can act in the way that you wish to be. And when I talk about becoming your own role model, I don't mean who you are presently, because we're all growing, but we all have connection to our future and past selves. And I mean, I'll sit down and I'll talk to myself, and I'll talk to the person who is the likely being that I'm going to become in, say, like 10 years. And I seek advice from that, because you are going to become this person, and we live in a world where there's infinite probable realities, and it's the ones that we put the energy into and the focus into that will manifest correctly, and you have connection with those versions of yourself that will eventually manifest. And I guess I get like a lot of information from him, from that future version of myself where I want to be, and that's who my role model is, because he's everything that I want to be, and he's everything that is going to become. So it's a bit of a strange concept, but again, sit down, figure out who you want to become, and really kind of just reflect and criticize some of the things you do. Like, think about the way that you act around people and the things that make you feel unhappy, like when you're sitting on your own and those conversations that are going through your head that you wish you would have said something differently in. Figure out why you didn't say those things. It might be because you're scared of retaliation in some kind of way, or maybe when you were younger you got told off for speaking your mind. And really just kind of delve into them and figure out how to change them or rectify those behaviors that naturally come out of you, like your natural triggers and everything. So that's the one for today. Become your own role model. Figure out what you want to become and chase that, and use that as your role model. Use that figuratively, that figurative character in your head as the person that you want to become, to be your role model, because only you know where you want to go in your life. I mean, other people can help you. Maybe you don't know, but the answers do lie within. And it all comes down to intuition, listening to the voice in your head. And you'll eventually get there, I promise, if you follow this advice. Anyway, take it easy. Yeah, enjoy. Peace.